Am I wrong for dropping out of my friend's wedding party after a prank? Depends how severe the prank was. My female 26 cousin, female 29, got engaged a few months ago and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was so excited to accept. Her sister, 32 female, is the maid of honor, and there are 3 other bridesmaids. The date is set for April 2024. On April 1st of this year, she sent a PDF to the bridesmaid group chat that really made me angry. It was a list of wedding party responsibilities, rules, and regulations. It included a picture of the bridesmaid dresses that we'd be wearing. They were hideous. And she told us that we have to pay $800 for them and that they only went up to a size 8, so anyone bigger than that would need to lose weight before the wedding. That made me so angry because I wear a size 10, but also she's like a size 12 herself, so even fatter than me. Other ridiculous things she added. None of us were allowed to be tanner than her for the wedding, so she told us that none of us could spend significant time in the sun for the next year. She wanted to have longer hair than all of her bridesmaids, so she said that we'd all have to cut our hair to our shoulders or shorter. She wanted to do a choreographed dance with all of us and insisted that we go to a 3-hour dance classes with her every Sunday until the wedding, a year away. She said that she wanted her bachelorette party to be in Paris and that we would all need to chip in $3,000. There was more, but I was so angry I stopped reading and muted the group chat for a few hours. I was so livid and hurt that I decided to drop out of the wedding party, but I didn't say anything right away. The next day, I checked the group chat again and everyone else had been chatting about how funny the bride's prank was. Apparently, at the bottom of the PDF, it said April Fools, but I hadn't read that far because I was so mad. Everyone else thought it was hilarious, but it still rubbed me the wrong way. I reached out to the bride to tell her how much this hurt my feelings and she did apologize. But even though it's been almost 2 months, I'm still really angry. I can kind of tell. I decided this week that I no longer wanted to be a bridesmaid because of the mean-spirited prank and told my cousin. Now, she's really hurt and angry, and the other maid of honor and other bridesmaids and some of my family members are blowing up my phone saying that I'm overreacting to an innocent prank. But I believe that pranks are only funny if the recipient finds them funny, and I definitely don't. So, am I the asshole? So she has a small little edit, okay? Okay, clearly, I've been deemed the asshole, and I'll accept that, but I also realized that I didn't explain my feelings very well. I was angry because all of the items in the list seemed to single me out. Expensive dress and bachelorette. I make the least money out of everyone in the wedding party, and it felt like a jab. The sizing, same thing. Only me and 2 other bridesmaids are bigger than a size 8. The hair, we all have long hair, but I have the longest hair out of anyone in the wedding party. The tanning, I work outdoors, so I'm probably the one most likely to be tan. Everything I read on the list felt tailored to me. Oh my god, this sounds like more like self-esteem issues more than anything.
Storytime, is blood really thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So a little background information, I was 16 years old and I was in 10th grade. And I had just started dating this guy that my friends introduced me to. He was extremely attractive, really smart, and really kind. Literally had all the traits a girl could want in a boyfriend. So him and I are talking for a while, and then we start dating, and we were amazing together. And my sister had just came back home from teaching in Thailand. Surprisingly, her and I got super close because we always used to fight with each other. And now we were inseparable. The only issue was she was 25 years old acting like a child. She always wanted to be at my boyfriend's house with him and his family. Weird, I know. Anyway, so she was always over there with them and I thought that maybe she was just lonely. Wrong, of course. Now, of course, like any other relationship, mine wasn't perfect, but my boyfriend and I started having more problems than usual when my sister showed up. He was being super weird and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. Part 2, is blood thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So like I said, my sister started spending more time at my boyfriend's house. I thought that she was lonely, but then my boyfriend started acting weird and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. But I ignored it because I thought that him and I were in love like in the movies. And also, if I broke up with him, it would be like breaking up with his family because I loved them like my own. Fast forward, his sister ends up getting married and my sister and I were invited to the wedding. Fast forward, everybody gets drunk. We end up spending the night at his cousin's house and something was off with my boyfriend. He wasn't really talking to me. He wouldn't touch me. He pretty much acted like he was done with me. Well, then there's my sister who was flirting and touching him like it was normal. Fast forward a month, I asked my sister if anything happened between them. And she goes, I think we slept together. So I confronted him about it. And he just laughs and he's like, it wasn't that serious. So I end up breaking up with him and then I start finding unhealthy ways to cope, aka drinking. And eventually I got so lonely to the point where I forgave my sister. And then I started seeing this other guy. And he was amazing.
Am I wrong for telling my sister grieving her dog is not the same as me grieving my husband? To make a long story short, I lost my husband only a month ago. It's hard. I'm still grieving and I miss him every day. I have to take medication for depression and anxiety to help me get through the day. Last week, my sister's dog was put down due to some health issues and she was very upset, which is understandable. She called me as soon as it happened and said I was the only sibling who would understand her pain. I didn't mind. Honestly, I just wanted to comfort her since her dog meant the world to her. She held a wake for him and our whole family attended. It was a nice service. But now she's comparing our losses, telling me she knows exactly what I'm going through, that she can relate to the pain of losing someone so close to you. She calls me asking if we could visit graves together. It was fine the first time, but it's constant. She goes 3 times a day. It's already difficult to go once a week for me, and she knows this. I feel like she's not even considering my own grief process. Anyway, I told her that grieving her dog is not the same as grieving my husband. She's upset and refuses to talk to me now. I get it. It was uncalled for, really, but my loss is new to me too, and I guess I just got frustrated with how different we're dealing with our losses. I don't know. I feel like she should understand where I'm coming from. A dog is not the same as a husband. A dog can't love you back like a husband can. A dog can't read to your children like a husband can. A dog can't make soup when you're ill like a husband can. It's really hard for me right now to discern when I'm being condescending or not. I don't know if it's a side effect of my medication or if the empathetic part of my brain has shut down, but I'm really getting tired of her comparing our pain when she lost her dog and I lost my world. At the very least, she still has her husband. I have 2 young children at home processing a loss unimaginable to most kids their age, and she's trying to whisk me away to graveyards to visit her dog.
Am I wrong for jumping off a train before the doors closed and abandoning my pregnant wife? We're gonna need some context. I know the title sounds crazy. It does. I'll try to explain this the best I can. I'm 29 and my wife is 25 and she's 5 months pregnant. Recently, we decided to go on a holiday together, which was nothing fancy, just to the coast, which meant we had to take a train. We had maybe 3 rolling suitcases and one of those army-style backpacks. About 20 minutes into our journey, we heard an announcement over the speakers that the train was being diverted. This meant it wasn't going to stop at the station we needed anymore. I panicked and told my wife we had to get off the train or we wouldn't be able to go where we needed. So I got up, started grabbing our things, and rushed off the train. And I couldn't believe it when I turned around and she hadn't got off the train. Am I wrong for jumping off a train before the doors closed and abandoning my pregnant wife? I couldn't believe it when I looked around and she hadn't gotten off with me. She was trying to grab our 3rd suitcase because I had the other 2 in the backpack. Unfortunately, it was too late, and even if I rushed to the doors, they were closed. My wife looked like she wanted to unalive me, and the train pulled away with her on it. Of course, I called her to tell her to get off at the next stop and I'd get the next one and meet her, but she was definitely irate. She told me the holiday was canceled and she was going home. To top it off, she told her family and mine, and they're all furious at me for abandoning a pregnant woman on a train. Especially in their words, when it was headed God knows where with a heavy suitcase. And now my father-in-law is telling me I'm an idiot for what I did. I feel like I was in the right, but my wife and family have other ideas. So, am I wrong? Am I wrong for telling my wife to stop being a pushover, or I would take all her spending privileges? So my wife, 25 of 5 years, has a sister, 20. She's somewhat disabled and has a condition that makes working difficult but not impossible unless she's under a lot of stress. It's a neurological condition that causes her to lose muscle control, makes her hit and throw stuff or fall over. Now, I have no issue with her sister. I think she's sweet and nice to have around, and more than anything, my wife loves her. She basically raised her and stepped in when her parents wouldn't or couldn't, and this caused a relationship closer to mother-daughter. My wife would constantly be paying for her stuff, and this made sense to me when she was a minor and was doing worse health-wise. Recently, though, it's been increasingly getting under my skin. I'm the sole provider for my household right now since my wife was pregnant and only gave birth recently. We'd spend a lot of money to buy her sister's gifts for holidays, which she never returned the favor, even with something cheap with thought or no thought put into them. Am I wrong for telling my wife to stop being a pushover, or I would take her spending privileges? We'd always take her to events or to dinner, and we'd pay for her every single time. She'd never even pick up the bill. Again, it wasn't entirely an issue until she became an adult, and now I'm fed up. She expects my sister to do things like pay for her to go to the doctor or invites us to lunch and then expects us to pay. She also doesn't schedule her own appointments, my wife does, and also takes her anywhere she wants to go even though we live 45 minutes away. And she always talks about freelancing and is making money, but then somehow has no money whenever she wants or needs something. I did feel my wife was being a pushover, but ultimately it was her money until recently. Now she's spending my money on her and it's getting me angry. I want to spend my money on my daughter, but we're spending money on this financially irresponsible leech. We got in a fight and I said I would take away her access to our joint bank account until she contributes if she doesn't tell her sister to grow up.